Good afternoon, guys. My name's Grover Abrams from Verve Digital, and welcome to Business Bytes with on Mbono Radio with me, Grover Abrams. What I do on a weekly basis is I chat to business moguls and people, that are very influential in the corporate space, government space, in these big industries, and just get a sense of, how they got to where they currently are, and that kind of stuff. So I want to do something slightly different today. I want to talk to somebody who is a youth. I'm going to be speaking to Adien Carson. He works at Verve Digital. He's also my son, as you can clearly see. And I just want to get a sense of, how it feels to kind of in this current day and age, to be a youth in order to get into the corporate space, etc. So he does work at Verve Digital as well. He's he's in charge of the creative stuff at Verve Digital, and I'm really keen to be talking to him and just get his insights. Just because I'm obviously 45, he's a 23-year-old, and I can give you all of my feedback and how I got to where I am, and similarly with the guests that I've had previously. But I think Adien can give us some other valuable insights based on his current. Based on the fact that he's still a youth, he's still a youngster coming up in the industry. So very excited to be speaking to him today about this. Just don't forget, please, our social handles, Verve Digital. If you look on Facebook, you'll find us there. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. YouTube, you'll find us under the Tattered Mentor. If you're looking at this on the Tattered Mentor, please listen to Mbono Radio as well. Every Wednesday from 1 until 2. That's when the audio will be broadcast there, and obviously this is available at any time on YouTube. We only do upload it on a Friday, just obviously to give it enough time on Mbono Radio, for people to listen to the segment there, and then Fridays we upload it once we've done all our editing and everything, so that you guys get valuable insights on YouTube as well. So with that, let's hand over and have a look at the interview with Adien. So this is Adien Carson next to me. And we'll ask him a couple of questions about, where he is and where he's at, etc. And I think, firstly, I want to just ask you, obviously I have an intimate knowledge of you growing up and stuff, but maybe I don't. Obviously you went to school. There's a lot of stuff that you were with your friends and that kind of stuff where you were growing, and I didn't necessarily have all the insights to that. So maybe you can give us just a bit of insight about who you are, where you've come from, and what you currently do, but where you come from most importantly.
Okay. Thanks so much for having me on the show this morning. I do think that you probably have quite a bit of knowledge, probably the majority of it, but my name is Adien Carson. I was born here in Johannesburg in 2001, so for me it feels like a while ago. For everybody else, not so much. And growing up, I think the biggest difference from me and other people in corporate is the fact that in school I was a pretty academic guy, so finding myself in corporate at 18, 19 years old was a little bit strange to most people, but to me it made sense, being a creative. But I think the biggest thing about my upbringing and my childhood, aside from I guess the obvious things like growing up in a different time, being a person of color, and going from Johannesburg to Pretoria back to Johannesburg in corporate was a little bit of a I wouldn't say a struggle, but something to talk about. But I think the biggest thing was moving from academia to the workplace. I guess that was kind of the biggest change for me, at least.
Okay, that's kind of good insights. I think that firstly, guys, I want to apologize about the noise. We are at a cafe this morning. We thought it would be a nice setting for us to do it here. There's obviously quite a lot of background noise, so I apologize about that. Also, it's very windy today in Johannesburg, so I apologize for that as well. But we really did think it would be a nice setting just to get out of the studio a little bit and just have a bit of a more candid discussion at a coffee shop. So thanks for those insights, Adie. I think in a lot of senses, I think that you spot on in terms of me having some insights to that, but obviously our listeners and our viewers want a bit more insight. Tell me a little bit more about you as a youth and the kind of being part of the new South Africa, with the Rainbow Nation and a lot of more integration in schools, etc. It wasn't the same for me. When I was in school, we obviously still had that segregation. When I got to high school, we obviously integrated a lot better, but it was obviously a bit more strained and different, and people didn't really understand different cultures and stuff. So I want to delve a bit more deeper into that before we get into the corporate stuff and talk about how you're finding the corporate space. Tell me a bit more about that, about how did you find integrating with different cultures, with different races, while you were going through school?
I think it was fairly easy for me because Johannesburg, where I started school, is a very diverse place. I mean, I wasn't taught to see color, and I guess props to you for that. So I guess it was pretty easy. I mean, there were challenges here and there, especially in high school. Being somebody that's apparently racially ambiguous in terms of the look was a little bit of a challenge, but it's not something I would even say it was influential at all. But I think integrating with other people was easy because they made it easy and I made it easy for myself. I didn't see somebody who was lighter than me as any different. I didn't see somebody who was darker than me as any different. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just the color of your skin. I mean, we were talking about the same things. We all spoke about cars. We all spoke about Dragon Ball Z. We all played soccer. So I guess that's all you really need to integrate with the people and have a friendship. So it wasn't really an issue for me, and I do think that that's, I guess, the difference between the generations. A lot of people's parents also kind of pushed it onto them that there's no difference because of what they saw, and I'm definitely assuming that you did the same. It's not a nice thing to go through. You don't want your kids to go through it either. So I guess you live and you learn, and that's the point of the next generation, to make it a better one than the one that you lived in.
As always, I mean, very mature outlook on things, Adi. I think as the eldest, I'm also the eldest in my family. You generally take on that natural leadership, so it's very it's really really good to see that you got this maturity level. It's really it's really wonderful to see. Maybe getting into a bit more of the corporate stuff now, right? So we work in corporate. Your specific division is more the creative side of things. Obviously I'm more in the consulting space, even though we still do e-learning and we do, we build creative stuff for clients and stuff. There's still that component of, the financials and all that kind of stuff. But you really focus on the creative stuff. And there's obviously all these courses that you can go through and all that kind of stuff, where you go to, places like Vega, which is an amazing institute to learn animation. There's the animation school. I've heard really good things about them as well. You didn't go that route, right? We you went a different route in terms of, firstly, like learning on the job, and then learning on, via, online courses and stuff like that. What do you think that held you back at all? Do you think that that's a good option? Do you think, the big thing for me is the youth and the youngsters that are currently sitting, in the different, sorry about the wind again, guys, about the different, the youth that are sitting in their different areas and that, and, they feel like they're stifled. They can't get anywhere, right? And the first thing that people think about is you need to get a degree, you need to get a diploma and all that kind of stuff. Now, you don't have that. I also don't have a degree or diploma. I also went through kind of, learning via skills. But what message do you have for those, for people, the youth, that are really struggling at the moment and want to make it,
I think something I want to start off with is the gratitude. I didn't mention the gratitude about being in a diverse place earlier, but obviously very grateful for that. Very grateful for being in the creative space, because that's always been the person that I am. And it's not about where you are, it's just about where you're going, I guess. I didn't study academically animation or cinematography, videography or anything, but I learned there's a plethora of knowledge online. You could teach yourself anything for free pretty easily, so long as you have an internet connection and a phone. I mean, I know not everybody has that. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm not privileged enough to have had that, but I don't think that you need something super academic in order to make it in the world and in corporate or anything. I know that my little brothers, they super academic and they'll probably go that route, and it is a valid route. But something that people need to understand is it's not the only one. I did a Udemy course. I think it was like 320 Rand at the time, just on a particular animation software that we used at the time. I applied the knowledge and the compositional learning that I learned about, I guess, cinema from there, used it in other programs, and now I guess I've become a jack of all trades in terms of media. I mean, it's graphic design, it's animation, it's 3D rendering, it's scoring, it's color grading, it's all of that. And I mean, I didn't go to school for it, and companies kind of really trust me with their image. I mean, we've worked with some bigger companies like Momentum, Old Mutual, and we kind of did it all from scratch. And they were happy with the product, and I never went to an Ivy League school. So you don't have to either. It's not about where you are, it's just about where you're going.
That's an amazing answer, Adi. And I think, first thing I want to give props to you for is the fact that you recognize your privilege, and we recognize our privilege. It's important, for us to also understand that we weren't necessarily in exactly the same space as the people at the moment. I did kind of come more from a previously kind of disadvantaged area when I was living in Innerdale, as well as when I was in Durban, but we were still privileged. We still had a roof over our heads. We still, me as a child, and we had a really good, loving kind of upbringing. My parents were really good with that. So privilege is very important to recognize that. But some of the other speakers that we had on the channel didn't have that privilege, and they made it as well. But getting back to this kind of creative space, right? So we've got Michael that we spoke to, who's the CTO of HP. We've got Nomfundo, who's very high at Dis-Chem as well. She's in charge of talent acquisition across the group. We've got Shiksha, who's very high. We've got Gino Smith, who worked at two of the global big. I worked actually at both of them, not with him, but at different times. At two of the global big four firms. These are all corporate things, right? They're all corporate things. We also like Riaz, for example, as well, who was very much in the financial space. Who also had a really, really difficult upbringing, in terms of coming from where he came from, and yeah, I just want to kind of get a sense of from you. This is the first time that I'm speaking to somebody who is fully creative in the creative space, who doesn't have any background in terms of corporate and stuff like that. Even though we work for corporates, your job is mainly just creative. What do you think about this? And this is going to be a difficult question, I think, for you, right? Because I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball. I haven't spoken to you about this before. But artificial intelligence is coming into the space, and specifically with creative stuff, which is a bit of a gripe for me, it's replacing a lot of the artistic stuff that people are currently using, Is there still a space for it in the creative space? Is there still a space for people who are coming in and not using artificial intelligence tools and just using them, just using their creativity, in order to make it? Is there still a space for artists? That's my actual question. I've got a specific view on it, but I want to first hear your view.
I think a quote that sums it up pretty easily is, with the invention of the typewriter, not everybody became Shakespeare. And I'm a little bit of a nerd. My favorite author is Isaac Asimov, the grandfather of computers and AI. And I guess I was forewarned from a very young age about the dangers of this stuff. Coincidentally, I'm very grateful for that as well. I think AI has its place in expediting things, making things easier. I mean, I'm an animation guy. I don't want to get into the niche of the things, but maybe in between frames and colorings and stuff can be justified. I do think you lose something. I mean, in the entertainment industry, in terms of animation, people are even upset about the use of computer-generated imagery and compositing. So I feel like there will always be a market for hand-drawn, frame-by-frame animation because it's something different about it when you look at it, and it's not something that you can quantify per se, but it is something that you can see and feel. So I do think that it's a threat, especially in the corporate space, because I'm talking about purely entertainment now, and I know that I'm in the corporate space even though I am an entertainer. It's a threat in the corporate space in terms of stuff like Gen 2, generating hyper-realistic images that can replace stock footage, which I think the stock footage guys are really feeling it. They're a little bit scared now, because some of these LLMs are generating hyper-realistic content. I'm not sure if it was actually Volvo that released an advert, or somebody just made an advert for Volvo. Even me and all of my expertise, I could not tell you that was artificially generated. So it's scary to see that your job might be replaced, but it's exciting to see what jobs AI itself will create that we've never thought of before. I mean, prompt engineering wasn't a thing before. Artificial intelligence development was a thing. I mean, we've had it since the 40s with Nintendo and the game AIs and stuff. We've all played against the computer. Sorry about the wind. But I feel like as much as there's a downside and there's a fear, there's an opportunity, and then there's a new job coming from this. So I don't think everybody should be too alarmed, but in the creative space, I definitely would skill up on how to use it to your advantage instead of being replaced by it.
And I think that's a very mature response again, AD. But my kind of view on it is just looking at the fact that people are so scared about artificial intelligence. There's, people are already looking at implementing legislations about when to use it. Governments, I know in Europe they're doing it now, and we're going to definitely start using it in South Africa as well really soon. But even just the normal people on the street, people that don't make up these legislations or these rules or whatever, are pushing against it, right? I mean, if you have, I know that I'm a musician as well, so is Adien. So we also in another space as entertainers, and obviously we also look at like album art and all that kind of stuff. And there's a massive resistance towards that stuff just because it's art, and it's, in a way, it is replacing people, and that's, people are pushing back on it hard, and I think that that's not a bad thing. However, I do think we need to use it for our benefit. So Adien was talking about, in between frames and all that kind of stuff, which animation software has been doing for a while already now. So that's already using artificial intelligence to speed up your jobs. And for me, for example, we do a lot of large-scale kind of support for implementations. If it's a large, let's say for example a company is implementing success factors or SAP or something big like that, we utilize AI to kind of expedite some processes, right? It obviously means shorter times that we're with that client, and obviously the team, even though it stays the same size, we're probably getting about half the revenue because of the fact that we're only there for half the time, and we're using AI to support that. That's a positive thing, because we're not losing jobs. My team's still full. We're getting through the stuff quicker, which means it's cheaper for clients. But at the same time, it's going to be cheaper for clients, which means other clients want you as well. So it doesn't matter whether if you're not doing it for a year anymore, if you're doing it for 6 months. Now, then after that 6 months, you've got another project, another project. So we can't be scared of it. But at the same time, we also need to be realistic, and we have to be ethical about this whole process. And that's very important to me. So I think Adien was kind of talking about the same thing that I'm talking about now. He kind of feels similar to me, I believe. So, I mean, yeah, I know that there's a lot of these AI tools coming out. I don't think it's necessary to be scared. You spoke about prompt engineering, right? And it's obviously something that I've been driving in the company to all of you guys to punt the fact that is probably going to be the new, kind of, if you look at job roles in the future, it's the goal. That's going to be like one of the probably highest paid jobs, I would say, in the near future. Probably already is. prompt engineering. So, and that's specifically prompt engineering is when you go onto an AI and you tell the AI what to do with, in the back end with prompts that you teach it to do certain things. And obviously it's an optimization thing. So you continuously do it over a period of time. So I know Aiden's done a lot of that work. I've obviously skilled myself up on that as well. I want to just know a bit more about that in terms of how you see, that going forward in terms of job skills, etc. How do you see your role evolving? Let me put it that way. Using AI, and I'll maybe even give some more specifics, right? Not like general kind of high level stuff. How do you see you utilizing AI a lot more in your day-to-day jobs, or day-to-day job at least?
So I think at least personally, as a creative, I think I have grown to be and will continue to grow to be a little bit more executive. So I think AI, at least for me, would not really be incredibly useful in terms of the hands-on tasks, but automation, checking your emails, just making sure that everything is running smoothly. Essentially, having some sort of assistance in terms of just the management of your day is going to be, I guess what it helps me with. I guess you can create AI and prompt it to really do anything just to help you out. I guess idea generation, because it's not really super creative to be making explainer videos for corporate. So I guess making an AI spit out 50 ideas on how to spin a corporate topic to teach to a workforce, I don't think that's unethical, because it's kind of tedious to say how are we going to explain anti-bribery and corruption differently this time to a different bank, and you want a different vehicle of learning transfer. So I think having it spit out ideas to you just on how to spin things is better. It's how I would use it. But in terms of the actual content that's being created, I don't really see it having a place other than, as I said, in between frames, maybe coloring. Image generation, I guess, is ethical enough in this space, because it's people don't really view my creative work as art per se, more as learning. So if there's an AI generated image in a textbook, it's not as offensive as somebody tearing up the Mona Lisa and replacing it with an AI generated image of the Mona Lisa. So I guess that's where I see AI being used in my daily life for the managerial and executive tasks. Also, I wanted to just comment on the prompt engineering being a job in the future. I do think prompt engineering is important, but as a fundamental base, because AIs, I've seen a trend recently in AIs being trained with reinforced deep learning, and that's prompt engineering to the power of 2. So it's rewarding and punishing, I don't know if punishing is the right word, virtually punishing an AI system so that it can learn how to do things. That's how they, I don't know what it's called, Figure 2, an AI robot with a body, learned how to walk. And that's a significantly harder task in terms of the neuron firing than generating an image. I know it might seem like drawing is harder, but the brain power required to balance an entire body with all the nerves is an insane task, and now we can do that because of reinforced learning. So I think that prompt engineering was kind of the precursor to what's going to happen next. Seeing all of these maybe comic YouTube videos about how an AI learned a new style of boxing because they gave it the basics and punished it for getting things wrong and corrected it for getting things right, and we learning things that we didn't think was possible. So I think prompt engineering was definitely the baby steps. It walked, so whatever comes next can run.
I mean, just so that you guys know as well, we obviously are in the management consulting space, and I think this is a very important lesson for us all to learn. I didn't do all of that research that Adien does. Obviously, I'm probably more focused on the executive stuff, financial stuff in the business and that kind of stuff, even though I do my best to kind of, stay up to date with this stuff. But AI is moving so fast. It's really, really crazy. So, I mean, I thought prompt engineering was still and it probably still is an important facet of it. of the growth and how we're moving forward. But hearing about other stuff now, it's pretty amazing. But I think it's a lesson that I think is very important when it comes to you guys. I learned very early on in my career. My first job, I was at a medical scheme. I worked at a medical aid company, a very innovative one. I'm sure you can infer where that was. And staying relevant and understanding and up to date with technology and with things that are changing is vital. And it's non-negotiable if you're in the consulting space specifically. You need to know what's going on. And you guys can do the same thing. You don't have to be a consultant or management consultant to do that. Just learn. And YouTube, and we've got access to all this information. And I had a joke with my wife the other day that when I was young, when I was still growing, we didn't have Google and that kind of stuff. I know that it sounds like I'm ancient, but it wasn't that long ago. You guys have access to all this information, and I use it on a daily basis. Aiden uses it on a daily basis. Use that information, to learn, to stay up to date, to stay ahead of the curve. Because if you're ahead of the curve, you are, more valuable than somebody that's not. So that's an important lesson, and a lesson that Aiden just doesn't taught me now, but just reminded me about that. You need to kind of stick with the relevance. So Aiden, in closing, right, I just want you to give a last comment, maybe a little bit of assurance, maybe a little bit of guidance to the guys, the youth that's currently sitting. Sorry about that. The wind is pretty hectic. Just a couple of words of something. We give them some sort of idea of what they can do to become somebody successful. For me, it's inside you. Stay positive. I do a lot of meditation, a lot of manifestation, that kind of stuff. And that's really helped me get to where I am currently. But maybe you can give us a couple of tips, coming from somebody who's more relevant in your space, and more closer to the youth, in terms of age and in terms of your whole culture.
One thing, I think the biggest thing that I felt in this conversation is really it does not matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what background you have, how intelligent you might think you are. You can do it. You just got to put the work in. I don't like the term fake it till you make it, because if you make it, it wasn't fake. So I guess just walk it like you talk it. There's opportunities. I know we had, I'm going to go a little bit offside here. I know we had one of the worst economic days. Everybody's scared. It's another 2008 and stuff. But we made it out of that. We can make it out of this one. And it's kind of us that has to clean up this mess as the youth now. We can do it. We just have to, I guess, do the work. I know there's a meme going around on the internet that says, don't ask me how I did it. I just did it. It was hard. Do the hard things. Have faith in yourself. Remember that you can end up wherever you want to end up, and you'll end up there. Just don't give up, I guess. It's going to be a very different time going forward, but an exciting one nonetheless.
Thanks, Adi. I think that's also valuable, and another thing is really different to where we came from as well. It was obviously a different time. There were different struggles, at that stage. Kind of just the transition of moving from apartheid into our rainbow nation as we are now was very difficult for people like me, when we were younger. But yeah, easy. Aiden's spot on. I think just believe in yourself. You can absolutely be whoever you want to be, and that's an important lesson that I learned really early on in my, not even my career, before my career, when I was in high school. A lot of the people that I went to high school with, in a specific school in Pretoria, I don't want to mention names and stuff, but are very successful. Just because of the fact that we had people and teachers that really believed in us. I had parents that really believed in me, and I really believe in Adi, and I feel like he knows that, and that could drive him as well. But if you don't have that support structure, you can do it on your own. At the end of the day, you are responsible for who you're going to be in the future. So with that, thank you, Aiden, for that. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I haven't had such a candid and deep conversation with you for a long time, so it was really good to have this that's going to be broadcast as well. And guys, please, just keep the faith and just keep on pushing. Obviously, just push through the education. You can be whoever you want to be, and I'm not talking about tertiary education and stuff like that if you can't afford it. Just get your matric, get as far as you can get to. I was telling my wife the other day as well. I got a very good friend. His name's Jody. I haven't seen him in many years actually, but he dropped out of school in I think grade. How do you think about the grades now? Because it was standard 8, so grade 10. And he's a multi-millionaire. He's got mechanic shops all over the world because he's very practical. I mean, all over the country, not the world, sorry. He's very practical with his hands. He wasn't great academically, but he had a vision. He knew what he needed to do. He understood that was his journey, and he went and he did it. And you can do the same. I'm not very good with my hands, so obviously for me it was very different. Obviously I went into the corporate space, etc. But I knew what my skills and my strengths were, and I went ahead and I did it. And like I said again, guys, I don't have a degree. I don't have a diploma. I've got certificates and stuff, but that's skills that you have to learn in order to perform when you're in your work. So just push and drive, and I'm really happy that I got Aiden's perspective on this, because it does make a difference. And I don't see very many differences from when I was young to when where Aiden is now. Obviously culturally there's massive differences, but I just mean the struggles and trying to get to a point. I know economically it's hard now at the moment, but we can get there. You can get there. So again, thank you, Aiden, for joining me today. And guys, again, just to kind of reiterate, my name's Grover Abrams. I'm the CEO of a company called Verve Digital. We do a lot of different things. We even got something, a lot of AI tools that we use. The one is an AI tutor, which we're actually going through a piloting phase now, and we're going to be launching very, very soon. So please go to aitutor.co.za. If you're interested, please register your interest there as well. And yeah, let's just build this country, and the only way we can do that and really help grow this economy is through you guys. You are the future. I was telling Adi the other day as well. We don't own the world anymore. All the stuff that's going on in the States, and with the presidential race and all that kind of stuff, and what is going on with politics and stuff. Guys, it's in your hands. It doesn't belong to us anymore. Once you hit 40, 50, we have to hand it over to you guys. You guys need to be responsible to run this country, and the way to do that is to just believe in yourselves. Get into the right places, become the president, become CIOs, CEOs, or even just skilled people in the workforce, and make a change to this economy. Okay. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, or to listen to this radio interview. Again, thank you to Adien. His social handles, if you're on LinkedIn, it's just Adien Carson, so it's ADIEN. Carson, you'll find him there, CARSON. You'll find me on LinkedIn as well, just Grover Abrams. And our company's Verve Digital, so it's VERVE, the word digital. And if you want to go to the website, it's just .co.za or .ai. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. And yeah, we'll see you next week.